Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Women Today show by Christine Amira. I'm your host as always, and I'm more than glad that you are able to join us today. And today, the conversation is around women in the workplace. I am joined today by very interesting ladies who have traversed their years of career to now maybe over 10 years of experience. From when they started their career, now they're getting to leadership, decision making positions, consultancy, and they have a thing or two to share about their career journey. So, welcome to the conversation, dear ladies. Welcome to Women Today show. Maybe we'll just start by introducing ourselves. Yeah, just say your name and, of course, what you do.
Okay, so my name is Kalaboda. I'm a developmental communications professional. I've been in the infocoms, advocacy space for about maybe 8 years now. One of my biggest career mission is to see how to deliver social justice for those who find themselves in situations of inequality and vulnerability.
Hi, my name is Waiderero Githu, a sales and marketing professional with a career of over 10 years in the FMCG and now in the startup world. Passionate about building brands, building sustainable brands, and currently in the skincare industry.
Hello, my name is Ivy Wanjeri, and I'm an entrepreneurship expert. I've worked in the industry for about 8 years now, and I love working with young people, getting them into the entrepreneurship space, getting women to set up businesses in rural areas, and I wake up every morning thinking about those people. That is my passion, that is my drive.
We just start by maybe talking about our careers and what was the dream you had when you left university about your career? And has it actualized in real life? There's a dream and there's a reality. So maybe you just start by bringing that in. Yeah.
Ask Christine. I think you started your question by asking us how we're feeling today. When you see international days commemorated to celebrating women, like International Women's Day, and also, International Girls' Day, because, girls, women, it's an evolving capacity. It really is very important for us to celebrate this time and to use this time to truly bring out and advocate for the uniqueness, for the unique challenges, for the unique attributes, for the unique and excellent value women bring into the society today. Half of the population in the world is women, so of course we need to amplify that, right? And then more so now, when you look at women in the workplace, that's a very complex dynamic. Of course, when you start your career, you're like, yes, I will be a top director by 5 years. I will be leading the organization at this time. So you always have those very big dreams, but the reality is also very different. There are those years where you really have to do the hard work and tarmac, the unemployment, enter employment, get unemployed again, enter employment. So it's a very interesting space and cycle to go through. Personally, I thought I'd always be in the marketing space. I thought I'd work for either Coca-Cola or Pepsi, a big brand. But then where my career found me in the non-for-profit sector. So it's a bit of an adjustment because those are very two worlds. When you're in the for-profit, you're driving sales, you wanna be the biggest, the loudest. But when you come into the non-for-profit space and now you're looking at people who are, going through life in a very real way, how do you tell those stories? How do you amplify those challenges to duty bearers, to the general public, so that the world can become a world that is, more aware of each other, more compassionate, more giving, and it's not just driving, YOLO thinking, but we are actually looking to help one another, empower one another, and ultimately build a world that is better for the generations for tomorrow.
For me, I think I'll just move into the professional element. I think the goal that I had leaving university was to join a big four corporate, and then ended up doing that. So I thought, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. I was passionate. I stayed there for 8 years. I grew quite a lot. However, at some point, I realized that that's not the path I want to take, and now had to change my career and move into startup. And being in the startup industry, I think currently what I can say is I'm more connected to what I am doing, because what I'm working on is based or focused on women and empowerment of women and women's wellness. So right now I can say from what I thought in university to now, I love that I changed my career trajectory. I love that I'm now so conscious in terms of the brands that I'm working on, and I love that it matches my ethos as a person.
Amazing. For me, it was that I thought I would get into working with an embassy, and that was my passion. Had a background in international relations, and then when I did my internship, I ended up going to Dandora slums. And what happened is I met a group of girls, and these girls asked me some questions, and I love jewelry and I love looking good, and I went with my look. And when these girls started questioning me, we are age mates, they're asking me, do you have children? Are you married? And those were not in my, it was not in my realm of aspiration. And it changed my perspective on life when I saw what these girls are going through, and that shifted my career path for me. And now I took the path of entrepreneurship for young people and women, and that's where I've stuck it out. Yeah.
Interesting that you bring that up, because my next question was actually going to be about impact. What do you now love the role that you currently have, and do you feel that the role that you have makes a difference and creates an impact in the world today, making it a better place? And is that what, where you drive your inspiration as well? Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, even when I think back, and I remember there's a time we did an exercise at work and we're being asked, why do you do what you do now? And that's the most significant moment in my career. When I was in that classroom, in this informal settlement, and we interacted with these girls. And while in this non-for-profit space, not everybody benefits from the things that we do, but the ones who benefit, their lives are changed forever. I know of a man who we trained in the prison, and now he's a carpenter, in Kasarani. And when I go and meet those people, even years after leaving certain organizations, those things, they keep me going. And so I love the work that we do, because impact work is actually impactful. I think the problem with the narrative of impact work is that we assume it impacts everybody, but the people that it does impact, I think keeps us, awake at night. We want to have the right solutions and speaking to the right problems, for those people. And so, yes, I really think that the journey I've picked is a journey of impact, and I'm doing something about it. Yeah.
Kala, just juggling career and life, and now that you started your career thinking, I'll go into sales and marketing, and then now you get into social impact, it takes a lot from you, it takes a lot from anyone. Is there any woman you have drawn inspiration from, locally, internationally, whether they know, they don't know, but maybe they drive you in a way to keep going?
Yes, thank you for that question, Christine. I think first and foremost, the woman who is closest to us from point of birth is really our mothers, right? And we see our mothers hold different hats, show us different facets of femininity and womanhood. We see her be the caretaker, we see her be the breadwinner, we see her being a part of the community, we see her, for some of us, mothers are in the church. So just to have a perfect example of what femininity and womanhood is amazing, because you can see how the concept of femininity sometimes nowadays is being washed down to makeup and hair and looks and beauty and finesse. But I'm like, is that real femininity? We see our mothers having grit, having tenacity, having moments that are low, but yet pick themselves up because of the love of their community and love for their children. So that really inspires me. In a more international space, and if you look at the continent, there's a lady who I love watching her talks, her TED Talks, her YouTube talks. She's called Lema Roberta. I hope I got her name right, yeah? But she was one of the ladies who almost single-handedly, with all the women of Liberia, led the charge to stop the civil war that was in Liberia for years and years. And she used the power of the woman in the home to mobilize the women to ensure that the dictator at the time was held to account, and to ensure that the war in Liberia, has come to a standstill. Now, standing in a continent that is plagued by the effects of conflict and war, how powerful is the role of the woman in creating a country that is more peaceful, in a continent that is more peaceful and progressive? So I found that very inspiring. I also work in a program right now that is looking at protecting children in conflict. And we say 1 in 4 children are affected by the impacts of war and conflict. And when you say 1 in 4, it sounds like a number, but that's a life. You can count 4 children,
Yeah.
one of them is affected. So to see a woman drive the peace and security agenda, I found that very inspiring on a professional level. But my OG has to be my mom.
Yeah. I like how you say it. My OG has to be my mom. Mine as well. My OG is my mother, my number one mentor. Deshi, I know I call you Deshi in this, but your real name, Waiderero. So Waiderero, there's a quote that I read this week, and I drew inspiration from it. It said, "You can't change the world sometimes," which is also what we are trying to do. Inspire inclusion. Women need to be included in these spaces, into leadership. But then, you can't change the world all the time, but you might also need to change your perspective. Does that statement resonate with you, maybe in your career as well?
Yes, it resonates 100% because that's something I've had to apply being in this journey of, trying to figure out professionally what I want to do, what I'm passionate about, and trying to follow that path. So earlier, as I'd alluded to, I was in the corporate space in FMCG for around 8 years, and it reached a point where I had to stand on my 10 toes and figure out exactly what do I want at the end of this career journey to have done. What was I passionate about? I realized very quickly I'm passionate about women. I'm passionate about the things that do affect us. And I was lucky enough to work with women founders who are very passionate about the wellness or skincare of women, especially women of color. And we deal with, figuring out what are the concerns of women of color when it comes to skincare and trying to solve for that. So for me, yes, you do have to change your perception of things. You do have to change perception of yourself and trying to figure out exactly what path do you want to take and actually strive to do that. So yes, I resonate with that statement 100%.
That's beautiful. Ivy, you had mentioned something interesting, and I want to stick to that part because we have to talk about the joys of working and making an impact. You mentioned having supported, for example, a gentleman who was once in prison and now they're a carpenter and they're running their own business. What are some of the other joys that you've experienced, in terms of social impact that you'd like to maybe highlight today, just to encourage a woman out there who is just trying to make a statement in what they do?
I have many examples, especially having been in the industry for a minute. I know of one girl that we worked with. She was in secondary school at the time, and she did an entrepreneurship program. The girl was not confident. She could not present to save her life. And it was part of the process that when you set up a business, you have to present it to a panel of judges. And so they formed a company when they were in school, and then they moved on to the competition stage up to the Africa level. And now we are competing with other African countries, and the girl cannot talk, okay? And we worked with her. And let me tell you, the girl became so eloquent that her presentation became the best in Africa. In fact, it was used as an example for in other African countries to demonstrate how presentations should be done. And today the girl is in France. She's pursuing her education. She's just about to finish, and we've kept in contact, and she's doing marvelously. And I mean, that's just one of many. And when I think about still keeping in touch with her and seeing how far she's come and what that did for her and the doors it opened for her, even unlocking her mind, which is the most important part, right? When I think about the communities, rural communities where I've worked, even in the coastal part of Kenya, and you go and meet women who in 2020, 2021, they're not wearing shoes. And they set up a small business. And then over time, their lives begin to change. They're able to feed their families. I mean, women who tell you when you meet them initially that their goal in life is to eat one meal every day. And then over a period of time, they begin to eat more than one meal. They begin to clothe themselves and their families. I mean, those things just change, your outlook on life. And I think for me, those are, some of the joys I carry with me every day. When I drive on Gong Road, one of the students I ever taught entrepreneurship, he owns a building now. He came from, staying in a Mabati house, and he got his wife in the business, started an M-Pesa shop, and they grew and they bought a plot of land and they built. It didn't happen overnight, but I mean, wow, I love what I do.
I love it. I love it. I'm listening to you speak and I'm inspired by the changed lives, and I'm sure every day we are God-fearing here, yeah? You think, God, yeah, I'm doing this for you. It makes him proud also. So that's really inspiring to know. Yes.
What
yes.
Ivy is talking about. Ivy is really talking about what she's highlighting is the importance of investing in women. They say when you invest in women, you invest in a community, you invest in a generation. Because a woman will not just take herself forward. When you're talking about the woman having a goal of eating one meal a day, she's not going to eat by herself. Yeah, she's going to eat with her children. Who, when you now develop food security for a child, you've even enabled them to perhaps even do better in school. And with that, you've now, started to create a life for them where they can have a life that is fulfilling, because they can do their education, they have food security, they probably have better protection at home, and they can now pursue a life that is, holistic and wholesome. So that is the power in investing in women. It's not just, a woman doesn't just go alone. She comes with the rest of her tribe, her family, and her community.
Waiderero, now to you. You've had a lot of experience working in different sectors, and you are in FMCG, you are in e-commerce. These are the trends today, these are the trends, and the Gen Zs are now coming in and they're joining this industry. From all the lessons that you've gathered so far, what would you tell a woman today, a young lady who's trying to join the career? Just a lesson that they that just one key
thing. Okay. One key thing I would tell a woman is build a skill set, right? So transitioning and doing as I transitioned and did different things, I learned the value of having defined skill sets that you can use in your portfolio to be able to get into different sectors or different industries, right? So I would guide a young lady out there, pick one skill, learn it, develop it, train on it, and then test it, right? And by testing it is pick up some free work. To be honest, you always have to start with some free work. Pick up some free work, test that, and then now make it a sellable skill, right? So my advice to women all the time is build your skill sets. In different things, build your skill sets. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And now that you're talking about young people, so for a long period of time we were the young ones. Now we are stepping out of that zone, and there's now Gen Zs coming in. Has any of you worked with Gen Zs before? You have? Ivy, have you? Yeah? And you, Kala? Oh, wow, interesting. Let's just talk about them for a minute, right? First is, I'll start with Ivy and Kala, who are now on social impact. How would you encourage these young people to also think about not just themselves, but others and the society, and to join the impact space in general?
What is most important would be expose yourself to the plight of the people. Because when you're exposed to know what is lacking, then you know where the gaps need to be filled. And then also aligning with what Waderero has said, how do you match your skill set to the plight of the people? Because today in impact work, you have to provide solutions that have market fit, right? So just the way an FMCG would think about the market and say, what's the proper product market fit, right? We must also have product market fit when it comes to impact work. So the best way, and because Gen Zs are very dynamic, in their thinking, in the way, they carry out their work, I believe they can be the next level to unlocking, some of the things that we need. Because also, we have Gen Zs in the rural areas. They might not behave exactly like, urban Gen Zs, but they're there. And they're still undergoing some of the challenges their predecessors have undergone. But then when the Gen Zs now can be able to look at that plight, look at it from their own lens, and what do we need, what do we want, then we can be able to respond with that product market fit kind of ideology. Yeah.
Hala, what's your experience with Gen Zs?
These are a refreshing blessing to the world today. A lot of the times people will say Gen Zs and they'll be like, oh, they don't want to work, or they're just a certain type of way. But I think that's misconstrued, because I think maybe Gen Zs are a little bit more strategic. Remember, Gen Zs are born in this era with the one thing we love the most, called our phones, right? We have access to information, we have access to artificial intelligence. ChatGPT will literally give you your life in 2.5 seconds, right? We have social media, our Instagrams, our Facebooks, our all the things, our TikToks. I think those are avenues for Gen Zs to really connect with the world. We had a conversation today. If you have a social media channel, you basically have your own media house, at your fingertips, right? So I think also when we look at what woke culture is, what is woke culture in its true breadth and heart? It's not about being stylish and fashionable. It's really about connecting with what's important to people today, whether it's economic empowerment, whether it's racial discrimination, ageism, sexism. For us as ladies, being disregarded by virtues of our sex, and people think that we are unable to do certain things. So I think for me, my call to action for Gen Zs is to use their time wisely, use their social skills, their digital skills, to hold governments to account, to hold the older generation to account, to advocate for the issues that are strong to them. The mental health conversation really came out strong in 2021, right? So that is a conversation that Gen Zs can now take off to the next stage. So really and truly, Gen Zs are the breath of fresh air the world needs today. When you look at things about climate change and how we're looking at environmental sustainability, those really are the champions, So I think they're our partners. I'm a millennial, hey. They're our partners, they are the future, and they're the predecessors for now what we have, the generational alpha, so we can't leave them behind. Yeah.
Okay. I want to continue with the Gen Z and AI conversation coming up. But before I get to the AI, I'm going to take us back again into our career and the challenges. Just because we said something about the Gen Zs being a breath of fresh air, and we don't want to promise them that the career path is going to be easy, right? So I always want to keep going back to reflection, and now, of course, bringing up conversations that make people inspire others by just knowing it's not going to be easy, but you've got this. So each one of you must have had a downtime, somewhere in your career. And I'm sure you might have a time where you feel like you want to lay low, or maybe this is not for me. Now, we also have names for these things like imposter syndrome, How do you fight that? And what makes you always come up to show up, and just do what you need to do?
Okay, so I can start us off on that conversation. There's a point in my career I really suffered with imposter syndrome, right? And maybe it was my own limiting self-belief that maybe I could not do this, or I could not be able to achieve the goal that had been set out. I think always taking a pause is a good reflection point, just to kind of get your mind at ease, or trying to figure out what are my solutions, what are the things I'm looking at that can help me solve my current imposter syndrome. One thing I do that to get me out of maybe imposter syndrome or a funk is affirmations, right? Just keeping out affirmations for myself to know that I am capable, I can do this, and I have the knowledge and the skill set to pursue whatever it is I need to do. The other thing I also do is staying connected to what my skill sets are, right? So for an instance, maybe I thought I could not solve a commercial problem in the business, right? I would go back and look at what skill set do I have that can solve this particular issue. And once I list them down, I'm like, actually, I can do this. It's just maybe I don't know the how. And what I learned to do is leaning on people maybe with more knowledge than myself to help or guide me in that space. And that's something I'll always push for, let's say, as women to do. Have a community in your professional life that you can be able to lean on, either for guidance, either to, to give you some answers in one way or another. Yeah.
That's interesting. Anyone else wants to add on that?
Yeah, I can add on it. I think my biggest struggle has been wanting to be a man in the workplace. And then it's a big struggle because you see men succeeding, you see it's there. There's nothing we're hiding. Men have more advantages, especially at the workplace. They're more respected, they're more heard, they're promoted more than women. And so just trying to figure out, and that was a big challenge for me, like how do I, especially like when working with government, how do you present yourself as a woman? There's a lot of male energy when you want to partner with governments. How do you position yourself? How do you carry yourself? And coming to the realization that my femininity is power. And embracing that femininity, that if I present myself as a woman, I can still be respected. Because it's about my skill set, it's about what can I offer at the workplace, what do I know, what knowledge do I have, am I a knowledge expert, am I a technocrat? And so just embracing that and just believing in myself that what I'm offering is important. And what I'm offering is not gender specific. My knowledge is not a woman's knowledge, it's knowledge. My skill set is not a woman's skill, it's a skill. And so just coming to that realization, I think, was a big challenge for me. And when I came into it, I stopped fearing. Yeah.
One of the challenges for me that was, tsunami-like, very shocking. And what I'm still struggling today is juggling that whole family life and work. Having a baby and coming to the workforce was one of the most humbling, it still is one of the most humbling experiences of my life. I realized my brain is not what it was. My energy is not what it was. And I'm sorry, but my attention is not what it was because I have, an under one or an under two. Coming to the realization that I can't wing it the way I used to be able to wing it and figure things out. No, I need to dedicate 1 day a week, 2 days a week to reading. It's very humbling. Also the realization that my counterparts who are male have moved a level above me while I was breastfeeding. It's so depressing. It really is. But you also just have to humble yourself and call yourself for a meeting and say, you know what, you're walking your own unique path. Things will not look the way it looks like for somebody else, and finding a way to be content and okay with that. Yeah.
I also like that all of you have found a way of just reflecting and taking the necessary actions. I like what you taking even supplements.
Yeah, you have to.
I love that approach. And now, as you mentioned, it's really hard juggling, work, career, family, life, everything. And then you still want to be a woman who is defining their space and growing in their careers. Now, I have a very tough question for all of you. Just so that you can have this work-life balance thing. Is career really all? Would you jump ship one day and move into entrepreneurship, or would you do both ways? Like, what is your take? Interesting.
Can I go first?
Yeah.
and because I'm in the entrepreneurship space, one thing I've come to learn, first for me, because of where I'm at, you cannot teach what you cannot do. So entrepreneurship does not come easily for me to do. I struggle because I love structure. I don't like the messiness. I know how to teach it. I know what is required, but the messiness of entrepreneurship is taxing. But I realize beyond where I'm positioned in my career, in the world we live in today, we must be contributors to the home. And so you cannot rely on your salary alone, for example. You must have multiple sources of income, and having also passive sources of income that then can sustain your life and your lifestyle. Because it is a lie to imagine that your lifestyle can be sustained by only one source of income. So it's to diversify yourself. The same way we diversify our skill set, we diversify our look. You don't have the same hairstyle all year through. So, I mean, you need to keep it 100, keep it looking sharp, right? And so I think it's very important, especially for women in the world that we live in today, that we must have diversified sources of income. And entrepreneurship is one of the ways that we do that. Yeah.
I think you mentioned something about work-life balance that I'd want to bounce off. I think my realization this year about work-life balance is that it has seasons. There's seasons where you'll have perfect balance, and that is highly appreciated, where your work and your life will be at, in synergy and in peace. And there's seasons where there's an imbalance, and you have to also appreciate that, in that maybe you might need to give more on the home front or give more at the work front, and appreciate that the season you're currently in. So I think maybe there's no work-life balance per se, but there are seasonalities of what that looks like, right? And you have to appreciate each stage, because each stage matters in its own right. Yeah.
Anna, you have something to say?
Yeah. I like the question on entrepreneurs, and I want to put a statement that is, highly debatable, and I'm open to comments. I think everyone is an entrepreneur in one form or another, because what is an entrepreneur? Someone who finds solutions. That's a solution maker. That is my very, grade one, definition. Yes. So I think in one way or another, we can find solutions to the problems that we see. And if the solutions can annually include, bit of change, even better. I like what Ivy said, women have to be diverse. Employees, offices, organizations are not loyal to you. If you drop down there today, you will be replaced. Contracts are not absolute. Donors will not always fund you. Government will not always give you money. So you have to find a way of being stable in a market economy that is ever uncertain. Yeah, so if you can find your stability, even better. And so it's up to us to really challenge ourselves. Of course, it's not easy. First of all, even just understanding what you want to do. Do you want to do plants? Do you want to do farming? It's really hard, but I think it's a journey that, I encourage everyone to jump on, yeah, and to be open-minded too, yeah.
Wow, there's a lot. I'm picking up a lot of conversations to continue with later, but I want to wind up this one just because we can't keep our audience listening for hours, but we'll continue with the discussion. But one last question about AI, right? This conversation makes everyone just fidget in their chair because there's careers as our parents have known, and then we came in and we were almost the millennials, digital, and then there's careers by how we have known them. Gen Z's know career differently, and then there's the AI that is just technology is just booming, and it continues, and it's moving quite fast, and we're using it even right now as our tools here and there with work. And does that scare you? Does AI scare you? Do you feel like now you have to run back to school to learn something new? Do you feel like you're able to catch up with the trends? What do you think? And maybe now just give a context of Africa, because this is where we are at. Like, you think we are ready for? And do you think that you are ready for? And what are you doing about it?
Okay. I can start us off in that conversation. How I look at AI is as a friend, to assist as a friend. And I'll talk about it in the industry that I'm currently in, right? So we deal with products that are for women of color. And with that, there's a lot of education that women of color need when it comes to choosing the products that work for their skin, understanding the skin types, and all of this. So how we've employed AI into our work stream is by all these things that you see, skin analyzers and the likes. Those are tools to help people understand better, like say what your skin type is and everything. And then that helps in feeding into the research and innovation when it comes to products. So I'm looking at AI from that point, in that it can aid to demystify quite a lot in a short period of time. And is it something that challenges us into, oh my God, we need to learn more? I think in the realm of reality that we live in, you always need to upskill, right? And maybe not upskilling in that you need to know AI in every sense, but you need to know, how do I apply it in the industry that I am in? How relevant is it in my industry? So I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I think for me, is thinking about how do we make AI advantageous for the African youth, because we know in 2030 that the African continent will contribute more to the workforce globally than the rest of the world. And so how do we then position our people to be ready for that move? Because already we have an unemployment problem, we have a literacy and numeracy problem. So how do we then take advantage of technological developments and advancements to advance our people? And I think that's the gap we are yet to fill, but it's a great opportunity for us.
Yeah, I like that. Very interesting conversations. When you look at digital literacy and digital transformation, I like what Ivy said. We are the world's largest, the world's youngest continent, and our youth bulge is only going to get bigger and better. So when I look at digital transformation, I look at it in two angles. There is the issue of access, and then there's the issue of safety. When you look at access, how do we push digital literacy even to the hardest to reach child? How do we ensure that digital innovations are in our development sector, are in our schools, are in our hospitals, so that we can deliver faster, better, and more efficient services? The other aspect on safety, how do we ensure? We all know about how M-Pesa was benchmarked in Kenya and ChatGPT was benchmarked in Kenya. And yet, why are the Kenyans not benefiting from these innovations? Yet they are widespread. So when you come look at digital protection, how do we do data protection for our young people? What policies are in place? Who are the gatekeepers of these policies? How do we drive stronger accountability mechanisms? And you know what I'm talking about? Basically, entrepreneurship and skills gaps that these Gen Zs and Gen Alpha and ourselves can tap into. The other part when you look at digital safety is, how do we ensure safety online? Are we allowed to say this? But if you go to Pornhub, you can see people, girls, women whose sex shots have been shot, and you will find that maybe this is somewhere in Kenya. How do we not know that this girl is doing things with consent? So how are we ensuring that this digital transformation is also not creating a bigger issue for our women and girls? If we're talking about inclusion, how do we benchmark digital safety so that sexual exploitation is capped? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done across all actors, whether you're in the for-profit, non-for-profit space, because if people are neglected, how will you sell to them? Yeah, we all have a duty of care. Yeah.
You have all such brilliant ideas. I have just picked a topic, and then again a topic for the next discussion. You're also brilliant. You've shared so many insights on different topics, and I guess I'd like to come back to this again and again and again. Inclusion is not you can't work in seclusion, and ideas have to be spread and shared, and conversations have to be had. And for women to be included, they have to be heard as well. So we have to keep highlighting one another. We have to keep talking. We have to keep saying the truth. I like this. Your last statements have actually just, of course, I'm just still absorbing them. And I just want to say thank you all, ladies, for coming to Women Today Show and just sharing your insights. Hopefully this conversation reaches out to women who are similar like us, or like trying to also develop themselves as well in their different careers, or even with us as we self-develop. I hope this can also be beneficial to someone, and it will aid them to reach further towards their fullest potential, because that is all Women Today is about. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in the next episode. Feel free to like, share, comment, share this with a friend who will need this, especially a career woman and even entrepreneurs, because we all need to hear from each other more often than not, so that we can inspire each other to reach our fullest potential. I say it again. That's it from today.